So who are they? Truly, this is the $27 trillion question. After all, like I've said, pretty much all of us agree that they exist. Where we seem to differ is on who they supposedly are. I mean, very rarely you will find somebody who will say that they don't even exist in the first place. That there is no them. But most people agree they exist. Who are they, though? Oftentimes it depends on who you ask. Ask some random skinhead neo-Nazi who they are, and they'll say, oh, it's the Jews, it's the Juden. They're keeping the white man down. I heard a phrase from the YouTuber Anthony Bryan Logan. I don't know if he originated it. I think he said he heard it somewhere else, but he's where I heard it from. He said, the Jew is the white man's white man. Make of that what you will. But that being said, you ask like an Antifa member, who they are, and they'll say, oh, it's the capitalists, those greedy, evil capitalists. It's anyone, it's the fascists. It's the fascists. How do they define fascist? Well, anyone who's not part of our organization that forces our agenda on people through violence and intimidation. But remember, we're the good guys, because we call ourselves the anti-bad guy squad. I don't agree with either of those people. If you were to ask some people who they are, they might give you a more nuanced answer. They'll say, well, it's a collection of people who simply have jobs and have money. And well, not jobs in the traditional sense like a 9-to-5, but they have money, they have positions, they have an income source, an income stream. And they want to maximize their income stream, and they want to secure their positions. And they will help each other achieve this with each other. Sure, there's a lot of, crazy conspiracy theory level stuff that's been that's just public information, I like to say that we live in a post conspiracy theory world. Given just the sheer number of documents that have been released by the FBI and stuff about the things that the CIA have actually done, testing syphilis on the African American population of some town in Georgia by purposefully spreading it on them. Oh, that's a crazy conspiracy theory. Decades later, FBI says, here are some papers proving the CIA tested syphilis by purposefully spreading it over an African American population in Georgia. And everyone's like, wait, what? Oh, MK Ultra, of course, the big one. Oh, that's the big one. MK Ultra was the boogeyman in the closet for decades, and then government comes out. They're like, oh, by the way, here's papers on MK Ultra, redacted to hell and back, of course, but yeah, here's MK Ultra. It was a thing. And then, funnily enough, people found out that some of the things that people had come up with about what they were doing were not true. But then there was stuff they were doing that nobody ever even imagined. You know what I'm saying? Post-conspiracy theory world. I think the biggest problem with the whole conspiracy theory culture of the 1980s through 2010 through early 2010s was that it gave people this false perception that conspiracies don't exist. That people can't gather together and conspire to do things. I mean, that's not true. Conspiracy to commit murder is a crime in pretty much every jurisdiction in the U.S., including at federal level, I believe. So if a bunch of people... Here's the thing. Oh my god, I just realized my teeth are there under my mustache for the first time. It makes me almost look like I've got some Mario crap going on. Anyway, sorry for the little ADD moment. But anyway, people got this perception because of all the crazy conspiracy theories, half of which turned out to be confirmed. But people got this idea in their heads that powerful government actors never get together and conspire to do things, that literally doesn't happen. right? People conflated the term conspiracy theory with conspiracy, you know? Like, the Finders, for example. I'll give you the QRD on the Finders. CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, starts this, like, little cult with these, like, satanic rituals, I guess to, like, study psychological effects of, like, subversion and how they could undermine a population by, you know, turning them into a satanic cult. And they were going to, like, go to other countries and use this. They were going to, like, bring satanic cultism into other countries to try to destabilize their populations, you know? And it was like, it's the most conspiracy theory level crap you can imagine. And then the FBI just releases this, like, 200-page PDF confirming the whole thing was real. And the CIA, like, twisted the FBI's arm to get the FBI to force a sheriff's office or city police, one of the two, in Florida to stop investigating some, like, abused children and turn the abused children over to some random people. It was the most bizarre conspiracy theory level stuff you can imagine. Like, if somebody sat down and wrote a movie about some kind of crazy government conspiracy and just came up with the most wild conspiracy theory they could think of, it wouldn't even be what the Finders is. And then, like, in the middle of the document too, like halfway through this 200-page PDF, there's this random map of tunnels underneath the, I'm blanking on the name. It's like McCarter or something like that preschool somewhere in, you know, New England, where it was like the children were saying that there were tunnels underneath the school, and the media was like, oh, there's no tunnels. It's a crazy conspiracy theory. And just in the middle of this document that's already bringing to light some crazy off-the-wall government conspiracy that actually happened. I mean, the FBI released documents showing that this is what happened. Halfway through, they also were just, like, plopped in there. They're like, oh, let's also confirm the tunnels underneath the preschool. How many of you remember that? How many of you were adults in the 1990s whenever this happened with the tunnels under the preschool? You know, it was big news for a little while about the crazy conspiracy theory. Anyway, people get this idea in their mind that conspiracies don't exist because conspiracy theory, right? People talk about the deep state, right? And here's the problem with, like, deep state. As soon as you start using terms like deep state and covert actors, like, everyone's going to discount it, right? Everyone's going to discount it and be like, oh, you're some, like, on some, like, Alex Jones conspiracy theory. Okay. What if I walked up to somebody and said, hey, do you believe the FBI and CIA exist? They're probably going to say, yeah. Well, first, let me point at this. If I walked up to somebody and said, hey, the deep state is real, and they are trying to rig the elections, and they're trying to rig our economy and everything, people would be like, oh, you're crazy, go back to watching Alex Jones. But if I walked up to somebody and said, hey, do you believe that the FBI is real, that the CIA is real, that they exist? They'd be like, yeah, duh. Hey, do you believe that the FBI and CIA do things, like, in secret? Like, they do things that the public doesn't know about? They'll be like, yeah, that's kind of the whole point, you know, especially with the CIA. Hey, do you believe that the CIA has ever done anything on American soil that turned out to be bad? Like, you know, like the syphilis dusting and everything, you know, they released the documents. They proved it was real. They were like, you know, at this point they might start getting a little skeptical, but be like, okay, yeah, I remember hearing that the syphilis experiment and the you know, MK Ultra was real. They'd, like, declassified the documents, whatever. And then I said, what if I told you there was a bunch of people in the FBI, in the CIA, who are corrupt? They'd be like, okay, duh, there's corruption everywhere. And now, here's the golden part. If I said, what if I told you that there are corrupt people in the FBI and the CIA, not even necessarily corrupt in the traditional sense. What if I told you there are people in the FBI and the CIA who are not necessarily corrupt at heart, but they have jobs, they have livelihoods, and they want to keep it, and they're willing to do corrupt things to keep those jobs? They'd probably say, well, yeah, I can understand, you know, wanting to keep your long-time job, you know, feed yourself, feed your family. You might do some tough stuff to keep a job like that, you know? And I said, what if I told you that part of what they're trying to do is prevent the anti-establishment people, the populist people, from getting into office because they know they're going to look into the FBI and fire all the people who are involved in this corrupt stuff. So they're trying to interfere with the election and interfere with daily life, censor information and everything, doing all this stuff to keep their jobs. People will probably be like, okay, yeah, I mean, I can take it, I can believe it. Well, bro, that's the deep state. That's all the deep state is. The deep state is just a bunch of people who want to keep their jobs and have access to government resources to do really shady, corrupt, controlling and censoring stuff, and they do it to keep their jobs. That's all the deep state is. So is that all they are? I don't know. Maybe. But like I said, we don't even necessarily need to know who they are to know what they're doing. Because if we know what they're doing, then we can put a stop to it. It's that simple. So join me for part 3 when I explain what they are doing and what they have been doing. We don't need to know who they are. We don't need to assign blame to one ethnic group or religion or another. We don't need to bring up secret societies. We don't even have to go into the deep state. You know, the guys at the FBI and CIA who want to keep their jobs and are willing to do, shady stuff to keep their jobs. We don't even have to go into any of that. No. We don't even have to know who they are to know what they are doing and what they have done and to reverse it and put a stop to it. So join me in part 3 when I discuss what they've actually done, because once we know what they've done, we can know how to stop them.